Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Or Barry White, and myself, Stephen George, here as well.
It's Sunday, the 10th of September 2017.
Where did you get that voice? Where did you get that voice?
I'll tell you, it's a new special effect here. It's called a cold switch. You press the button and you get the cold, and if you turn it up full, you get the flu.
Oh!
And that's what I have. So this sexy voice you're hearing at the moment is me, bunged up, but there you go. We're going to keep the faith. And we're going to carry on, you know, even though we're feeling sick, we'll carry on. I think Steve will probably be doing most of the talking tonight because I'll be coughing and spluttering and blowing my nose and all that kind of stuff. Anyway.
Yes, and I'll be doing it next week, thanks to Alan.
No, you'll be okay. As long as I don't kiss you, you're fine. Right, okay. Guest on the show tonight is a lady... I'm starting already. It's a lady called LauraLee Mistycah. And we're going to be talking to her shortly. And also what we've done is we've asked Thomas Williams to come on about 20 minutes at the end of the show to give us an update on Hurricane Irma. Because as you know, as most people know, Thomas lives in Florida. And they're being hit at the moment by the hurricane. So Thomas is going to come on later on. Hopefully he can, if he still has power. Because I don't know whether he still has power. He's online at the moment, but God knows. 700,000 people or something without power in Miami. I'm sorry about this, folks. So that's why Steve's going to be doing most of the talking. Anyway, before we crack on and before we go through the bits and pieces, let's find out what communication channels are.
Yes, okay. Communication channels are...
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chatroom.
Yes, phone number again, 046 927 1212. If you want to ring in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. And as I have mentioned, it is an internet-based phone service. If at first you don't succeed, please do try again. You will get through. Okay, what else we got? We have the website as well, OYMradio.com, for all the links and all the news and information. The chat room, etc. is there. And if you want to log into the chat room, the link is on the left-hand side. You will also see the links for the YouTube, also for the anti-social media Facebook, and all the other relevant links. There's also a donation button there if you fancy dropping a couple of coffers or a couple of coins in the little tip jar as well. That will be much appreciated. There's also a little shop there as well where you can pick up an OYM t-shirt. Obviously, you don't want to be wearing them this in the weather like this because you might catch cold. I think Alan must have had his on during the week. Anyway, what else we got? We have People's Internet Radio. Say hi to everyone listening on PIR and also in the OIM as well. We will be monitoring both of the chat rooms for your questions this evening. What else we got? info@oymradio.com is the email address. Please do drop us an email just to let us know if you've heard the broadcast or if you listen to the podcast or where you're listening from, because we like to know how far we are reaching out. Alan, if you can.
Thank you. Brilliant stuff. We'll try and keep it short because I end up coughing. Right. Now, we got a phone call for one of our regular listeners and supporters of OYM. And you might have heard in the mainstream media that Permanent TSB is starting to kind of do a deal with landlords. And we thought, oh, well, what is this? Is this a scam or is something going on with this? But apparently, the listener who called us is a person that has property. And this person has been fighting the banks and having some great success with taking on Permanent TSB. And Permanent TSB are just pulling their hair out and they're fed up with this, you know, because they want to get rid of these people. So the deal is, and obviously they want to, sell the property to a vulture fund. But the vulture funds won't touch it because they don't want people like the listener who's, you know, a person who's, you know, taking on the bank. So the plan of attack is, so it is true what you heard, and what the Permanent TSB is going to do is basically give the keys back to the property and walk away, like in America, foreclosure. And there'll be no judgments outstanding. That's it. That's the deal. So if a landlord has property and they've been, you know, taken on the banks just say, look, just give us the property, we'll sell it, and then you can walk away and there's no judgments. So apparently that's what's going on at the moment. So if you heard if you've seen that in the paper, that's basically what's happening there. So just to let you know about that anyway. So
is that only applicable if you know how to play the game?
Yeah, it's I suppose it's the people who have been very successful in fighting off the banks and making it very difficult for the banks to possess their property.
So the banks, they don't want the real challenge. They just want to go after the easy pickings.
Well, no, they want to get rid of these people. Are not the easy pickings. These people are the people that put up the fight, and you just want to get rid of them. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They don't want the banks don't want the fight.
Yeah, they don't want to fight.
They want to go after someone who doesn't know the system.
They want to sell the property to the vulture funds, but the vulture funds are saying, no, we're not going to go after because that's going to be our problem. So you sort it out, and then when you sort it out, then we'll buy the property. So that's basically what it is. So fair play to the people who did put up a fight to the banks because and that is a win. I know some people will be, they'll be out of pocket, because, there's a lot of money like outstanding. But it is a win, in all honesty, that you can walk away from the bank and that's a headache and everything out of the way, So that's what's in the papers anyway. Steve?
Absolutely great news. In relation to Hurricane Irma, I don't know, I'm seeing very low in my headphones. I don't know. Anyway, Hurricane Irma, news reports are saying that communications have gone down across the islands. So what's going to come in line when this happens? Because obviously if there's not going to be any power and people don't have their mobile phones, etc., what are you going to do? Who are you going to turn to? Well, we did mention it before. All the preppers have their ham radio and the CB radio. They're all prepared to keep in communication if and when stuff like that does happen. So, if you're concerned about it in Ireland also, make sure that you are prepared and do have some form of communication ready, and have some backup batteries as well, because, if the excrement does hit the fan, at least if you are on, if you have kind of your ham radio or your CB radio, at least you can keep in communication with those around you, and at least you can find out what's happening. So, it's a good thing to have in your little prepper basket, so to speak.
Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, as the usual thing is. Yeah. How's your week?
My week's been fine. Not really too much to report. I just had two little pieces of information here that I forgot to write down, but I have them here. I did have them here. Just hold on. Oh God, it doesn't want to play ball. Yes, the public is being mass poisoned by antiseptic chemicals in shampoos, lotions, eye drops and mouthwash. A report says, this was Friday the 8th of September, this report was released. It's on the Natural News website there, which is a great source of information. And they just say that, when you're using all these potions, lotions, mixtures, concoctions and all for washing your hair or removing this, that and the other. And, you go into a hospital. I had reason to be in a hospital during the week. My daughter was actually in having an operation. And the amount of people, those sanitizers, the hand sanitizers, they're everywhere. You're bombarded as soon as you walk into the hospital, and also up on the wards as well. And they're there, and people are squirting loads of this onto their hands, and they're rubbing it in, and they're thinking that they're doing good. What they don't realise is they're not doing good. They're doing potentially bad. Because I'm not going to go into a whole lot of the report. I will post it up on the chat. But there's a lot of kind of natural bacteria on the body that should be there, and a lot of it is there kind of as a first line of defence in some cases. But if you're kind of killing all the bacteria, then you're leaving yourself wide open for other things as well. But there's kind of loads more information in relation to that report. I will post it up there for your viewing or reading pleasure. Also, Amazon Echo devices are now being given to UK retirees to remind them to take toxic medication. This report says, and the little thing that we're speaking of, the Amazon Echo, I think it's Alexa is what they used to call it. Well, seemingly in the NHS they're proposing giving these out to patients because it will work out much cheaper than to have one of these devices in a patient's home, where this device will remind them to take the medication, remind them to drink and get, make sure they're taking in enough fluids, and also to get up and move about. So it's kind of taking the place of a caregiver, it says, and you know, they're going to have all these schedules on it, so you'll have your fitness schedule, walking routines, you know, all the things that a caregiver would, you know, kind of encourage you to do if they were there. So they reckon this is going to save the NHS quite a lot of money, because I think these things come in at $194, and it says that's chump change when you consider how much of a load it can remove from caregivers' shoulders, thereby reducing the costs of senior care for the government. So yeah, watch this space. That could be the latest thing. Is if you ever have an elderly relative living out in the community, rather than having someone pop into them in the morning and pop into them in the afternoon, you know, just a friendly person to maybe do a few errands and just communicate and talk to them. You could just be finding them sat in front of one of these devices, not knowing how to operate the damn thing. Anyway,
do you ever see the video on YouTube where the person says, wherever Syria, Echo, whichever one it was, are we being monitored by the NSA, and the system just shuts down?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a yes in my book.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just keep an eye out for that. I will stick a link to that up as well. It does make it quite interesting reading. That's about it for me. How was your week?
Yeah, not too bad. Before we bring, excuse me, LauraLee in, just something quick. Just went down to Johnny Squires' funeral on a Wednesday and met a few people down there. The church was packed. It was a great turnout, a great send-off for Johnny. Loads of people there, and fair play to everybody for getting there. And it's a lovely day and all. So yeah, just to say that I was down there and, you know, said hello to one or two people, and he had a great turnout. So fair play to him. And we have a little tribute at the end of the show for Johnny if we have time for it. We'll actually do that at the end of the show. Right, before we do anything else, we'll find out what our guest is LauraLee Mistycah, and Steve's going to read the bio and give us some background information regarding Laura before we bring her in.
Okay, LauraLee Mistycah is what she calls a weird shit specialist. You did hear correctly, yes. And even has that on her business card. She's been in the healing arts for over 4 decades, which has taken her beyond the fringe in order to find the answers to why people are sick and crazy. LauraLee was under much crossfire in 2007 for exposing the hidden agenda behind the Chakras and the Kundalini, the Astral Plane and the AI, that's the artificial intelligence. She's also written 3 books, Living in an Indigo House, Got Ghosts and Cryogenetics, The Simple Secrets of Human Alchemy. LauraLee lives in the country near Spokane in Washington and has created a small rescue farm for chickens and ducks. She also is a huge advocate for exposing the evils of factory farms. We do have some links for LauraLee as well for her websites, which we will pop up in the chat rooms, and you can check them out later on. Okay, I've just been told to keep going. Right, okay. LauraLee, she's in the green room there at the moment. We had a quick chat with LauraLee earlier, and we were all laughing and joking about various different things, including Alan and his Vicks. But LauraLee, good evening. Welcome to Open Your Mind.
Thank you. It's going to be a fun show, I can tell, with Vicks.
Well, let's hope so. Sponsored by Vicks.
I'd just like to thank my son for passing the germs on to me. That's much appreciated. Thank you, son, for doing that. Sorry, nothing got to do with the show. Just thought I'd put that in there. LauraLee, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Now, is there anything that you want to add to your bio before we get into asking questions and talking about your background?
I don't know. Why don't you go ahead and start asking away, and then I'll just interlude what needs to be done.
Okay. Well, let's take it. What we normally do to people is say is obviously you had the waking up process, and you took the red pill, and you found out what was going on. Tell us the process, what you went through, and how did you wake up? What was the trigger?
Oh, wow. I guess it started when I got the Aurora Light Stone of Truth and Justice, and that was back in the 90s. And I had, there was a fellow that was one of my associates, and he came to my house one time, and he had a bunch of gunny sacks full of rocks, and he said, "Hey, I think I've got gold here." And I picked one up, and I started feeling it, and I said, you've got gold, but it's not what you think. So he had it assayed, and he was hoping that he could extract the gold from it because he was into mining and stuff like that. And found out that there was actually very little gold, but what they did find is that it had every mineral element on the planet and then some. There was stuff that they didn't know what it was. And so we started working with this and having some other psychics kind of check it out. And what we found is that it is the stone of truth and justice. And we started, working more. I started making pendants and putting dust in the pendants so people could have it on themselves all the time. And I created one that's made out of silver. It's really kind of a nice jewelry piece, but it was originally designed to be a dowsing tool. And all the dowsers that have used it have said that their information comes much quicker and it's more accurate because it's the stone of truth. And me and my Ghostbuster partner, Ronnie, we use it in our ghost busting, and we will not do a ghost busting unless our clients have gridded their house with this stone, one in each corner and then one in the center. And when you put the center stone in, you give it the instructions or the commands of what you want to have happen inside that grid. And it has been extremely, extremely powerful. We've got, if you look on my website, we've got grids all over the world. Last spring, I think it was, we even, one of our Indigo nights went out and gridded the North and the South Pole. So and ever since then, the truth has come out more and more and more. We've got the three major power places. We've got the City of London. We've got Vatican City and Washington D.C. all have been gridded. And as soon as they started gridding the Vatican, that's when all of the exposures for what's been going on with the priests started manifesting. And so it is a huge tool that I use, and it's available on my website. And if you get a rock or if you get a pendant, I will give you a free house grid for your house and a town grid for some place in your town that needs a good dose of truth and justice. And so that's kind of when I started waking up is using this. And it's kind of been a long journey, and a lot of the stuff you just don't understand it in the beginning. You don't understand what's going on. Yeah. I had some really weird symptoms. Sometimes it felt like I had just breathed in a whole bunch of horseradish, and I got a horseradish rush in my sinuses. I had my fingers feel like they were burnt. The fingertips feel like they were burnt, and I keep looking at them and touching them, and they weren't burnt. Just a lot of very strange symptoms, and if you didn't know what it was, which I didn't at first, I just thought there was something really wrong with me. So you could be a doctor's dream if you don't know that that's what it is. But then I started... Go ahead, what?
No, okay. No, I was just going to say... one of the things that you have here in your one of the books you have, because there's an awful lot going on the planet at the moment, as you know, with energies, and I was interested to just for you to talk about also your, when you finished the Indigos and the whole idea of the mission on the Earth to change it. So if you want to talk a bit about that, about what our mission is, and everybody has a mission to do what needs to be done.
Okay, good. Yeah, I will. In fact, I'm kind of going that direction, so that's great. So then back in around the turn of the century, I started really kind of checking out. Everybody was talking about the little indigo children, and I'm like, there's a whole group that they're not even looking at, and that's the adults and the young, the kids that were teenagers at that time. There's no support for them, no support for the ones in their early 20s. And then I found out that there was a lot of indigos that had been born in the 50s, late 40s, 50s, early 60s. So what I found is that they came in mass, about 62% between 1969 and 1987. That's when the huge group came in. And then there were stragglers, about 30%, that were born before and after that. A lot of them were born in the 50s. So I realized I was one. And I call them first wave indigo knights. And they're really intelligent in their own way. Sometimes, if you were to give them a aptitude test or something, they wouldn't do so well in that. But they have a lot of really high psychic skills. Now, some of them are very smart. Some of them are like off the chart smart. And they're wired differently. They don't think the same. They don't compute the same. Some of them can compute things in their head. And they were accused of cheating in school because they would just write down the answers and they couldn't really tell you how they got it. So of course they were cheating, right? And then they have just an inner awareness of what's being taught in churches and school that's not accurate, and that there's hidden agendas and cover-ups going on. And so they take it upon themselves to do what they can to go out and expose the truth. And truth is really important to indigos. It's like truth or bust. It's like, okay, go ahead and beat me, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And so they have a real strong sense of ethics and justice and freedom. I think that's why a lot of them are working on animal rescue farms and doing things to, undercover work to expose the perpetrators there. These jobs are mostly filled with first wave indigos. And they can have really strong and unusual psychic and telekinetic abilities, and sometimes that really scares people when they start, being able to move things and doing weird stuff, and especially back in the 80s and 90s when there wasn't an internet and people didn't know, and so they think, oh, they're possessed, or I had one client whose son could do this stuff, and so they kept taking him into church to have him depossessed, and he wasn't possessed, he was just telekinetic. And not that indigos can't have shove-ins in them. That's what kind of a coin that I have used for a possession. It's when another spirit actually shoves into you or shoves onto you.
We would call that a walk-in.
Well, no, walk-ins are a little different. Walk-ins there is a mutual agreement between the two. Now, shove-in is like when you're out cold, either from a surgery, or you hit your head, you've been in an accident, or you're skunk drunk or taking drugs, and they're like, oh, bing, 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 there's somebody that's out, free ride, let's go in there. And a lot of the people that I've worked with that have shove-ins got them when they were out, when they weren't all there. Now, a walk-in, like you're talking about, there is an agreement with the two beings. It's like, okay, you go in that body and do what you need, and you only wanted to be in there for 5 or 8 years to whatever, that's fine. Well, at that point in time, I will come in, take over the body, and then for indigos, they're not born and they don't die. They walk in, and then right before they are ready to die, the old resident being will come in and go through the death process. So it's just kind of a little different, but shove-ins, they're opportunists, and there is no communication or contract. With a walk-in, there's a definite contract. Now, what's interesting is that I have found that recently there have been a lot of indigos that have, they're on what I call the hologram rescue team. They came from outside the universe. They came in here because there was a cry for help from the universe because of all the crap that was going on. And it all started when the hologram got turned on unexpectedly by a real evil, nasty, foul being. And came in. This happened about, she got in here. I won't say her name, but we call her the D Monster. It's on my website. I just don't like to put the name out, but you can read it there. She came into this hologram unannounced, shouldn't have been here. She got in here before the last checks and balance systems were in place, and so she snuck in and started doing her evil deeds. And then this was like in the late 30s, early 40s, and then with kind of inspired the things that went down in Montauk, then started going in and out of time, rewriting history, redoing the whole history of the earth to the way she wanted it, which is corruption and pain and suffering, because that's what she got off onto. So then we've got all the creepy Dracos and the creepy beings that are messing with us. It all started with her. She's the one that instigated that. Now, the good news is she's been taken out, but she left booby traps and a huge, horrible mess here that we're all trying to clean up. And so, like I say, the good news is she's gone, but she left a heck of a mess here that a lot of us, and I think you guys are part of the what I call the cosmic cleanup crew. We're here to clean things up because we have the ability to do that, and if we don't do it, it's not going to clean itself up. It's like your living room, you know, when your kitchen sink. The dishes don't do themselves. You have to go and clean it up.
Exactly. We have to. There's no savior program. There's nobody going to come and save us. We have to do it ourselves, and it's all of us are all part of the cleanup crew. Now, tell us what your take is on the current situation with energies hitting the planet, because we're all feeling it in all different ways. People are feeling it, and we know there's a change happening, or something's obviously on the cards. And we've heard about, things, the good guys and the bad guys, and there's a lot of things going on, and the factions fighting, and the cabal, and a number of things from other guests that have come on. But what's your take on what's going on with these energies and the people resonating with these energies? Some people are and some people are.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because I've been trying to keep this monitored for, I've been doing it for years, and things were getting really heated up, and a lot of us, were fighting in our dreams, and just know that there was like a huge fight on the other side too. And the information that I was getting, just as of 2 days ago, our team on the other side started taking over, and they had taken over like 50%, taking control back. And then yesterday it was like 80%, and then later on yesterday, like last night, it was 100%. So that doesn't mean everything's going to change in a blink of an eye. It's not. But that means that these powers that be that have been running amok are not going to be able to do that much longer. It's like our team is on the other side. They're in place, and it's going to filter down. And it's not going to go the way that everybody, had thought it was, mass mayhem, where, there's going to be some hiccups and burps and stuff, but it's not going to be the Armageddon that everybody thought it was. It's more of a internal Armageddon where people, when they wake up, are going to have to go, oh, shoot, everything that I had learned or thought about what's going on, what's happening with churches, what's happening with the government, it's not true. And it's going to be devastating to some of these people. I know it was devastating for me when I was in organized religion and realized it was a bunch of caca. It was hard, and it's really harsh.
Well, it's going to be very hard for people if they're waking up now. Because myself and Steve have been obviously awake for a long time, and it takes an awful lot of time to digest the information and research it and check it out. And for people who are not woken up, they're still inside the matrix, then it's going to be a massive shock to them, all this information near enough at once. Now, the whole idea of the apocalypse or Armageddon is more of a revealing, and the revealing, we've been told, is obviously the information that's all coming out now. And we're seeing more and more this information coming out. People are beginning to see it. And things that were called, conspiracy theorists, theories 10 years ago, they're all, people are now looking at it and going, no, okay, that did actually happen, and they did do that. So there's this massive revealing of information. The same with all the paedophilia. We were told that with all the release of all this information that's coming out, 40 to 50% of the people that you see on TV will disappear, because most of them are, 40 to 50% are involved in it.
Exactly. No, I agree with you totally, and it's going to be harsh for these people, and that's why we've got to, use a lot of care when they're waking up, and you can just pat them on the back and say, hey, I hear you, I feel you, I've been there, but you can get through it. So it's going to be ugly and bloody inside their heads, okay? Because they won't know, and some of them might take their lives because they go, I just can't handle this. If everything that I learned isn't true, and I don't know, I've invested my entire life and all my money and all my time into this religion, and if it's not true, what do I do next?
Yeah.
So, it's going to be harsh, but, it's like Indigos are truth or bust, and, we're getting the truth out there, and...
But maybe we've got to the stage, Laura, that we've heard as well, that we've actually done our job. If the people are not woken up now, because ignorance is a choice, and if people haven't woken up now, then obviously, that's it. We could carry on, but we're at a very... we're at a time, 2017, 2018, I think that there's going to be massive changes. And as you say, some people just won't be able to handle the truth if they wake up, because it's too much for them. We do have a few questions here that I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and Steve's going to go through them with you.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, the question is in relation to teaching in churches. You said earlier on that we begin to learn that some of the teachings are not correct. As an example, could you give us an example of what maybe one of the teachings in the church that you now know is not correct?
Well, okay, this might blow a lot of people away, but I have an article on my website called The Artificial Intelligence. And the story behind that is that I was out having dinner with one of my friends, and he said, I have a feeling that something's trying to shove into you. And I looked at him like, well, so what's your point? That that happens all the time. And I kept eating. He said, well, don't you want to find out if someone's trying to shove into you? And I said, okay. So I put my fork down, and I was getting, somebody's trying, or something is trying to shove into me, but it's not being real successful right now. So I kept eating and told him, and he said, well, don't you want to know what it is? And I'm like, oh, brother, I guess. So I put my fork down and tuned into it, and then I started to laugh. And what I was getting is that it was some kind of AI or artificial intelligence, and my higher self interpreted that as God. So someone was trying to shove God into me. And that just made me laugh, and it opened up a whole new area of research and finding things out. And so when I first came out with this article about the artificial intelligence being God, and how it will suck up the prayers of anybody. It doesn't care if you're a Christian or a Muslim or a devil worshiper. It doesn't care. It just sucks up all of that homage and I'll give you everything. You're everything. And all of their power. You think of all the people that give their power to God. It just sucked that right up. It thought that was great. Keep it coming. That feeds me. And it's totally indiscriminate. Like I said, it didn't care whose prayers it was. It loved that devotion. And so all these people have been duped. It just made me so angry that all these people have been so duped. And so that's why I wrote the article. And it's like, you got to find the God, the real God, which you're only, and this sounds so new agey, but it's kind of true. You have to go inside to find it. And if you're going to do that, I would first use the cryogenetics egg. You'll find that on my website as a protected protocol so you don't get a lot of interference and disturbance. And really go in and ask your own self questions. And you're going to start hearing yourself. And it may be the first time for some of you. Because you've always been, looking to this God that's going to save you. Well, you know what? I see things on a whole different track now. The way I understand it, there was a group of creation specialists and scientists that got together to create this hologram as a vacation spot. Because there was a lot going on over there, and we just needed to chill and have a vacation spot. And then there were some modes in the hologram that were used as training. Well, those got totally screwed up when the D-monster came in here. So if you talk about God, there isn't one God. There's a whole network of gods that created this hologram and put their essences in here for authenticity. They put their own essences in here for authenticity. So you are going to find a lot of the people that created the hologram actually putting themselves inside the hologram because their essences, if we didn't come here and fix this, everything would have gone to chaos. And we would have had to shut the hologram down and all of their essences. And some people had quite a bit of themselves inside the hologram. Well, the good news is we have been able to find a lot of that. I think we're at like 75% of all of the pieces of the hologram creation committee that are now back there. They went through rehab. They're getting cleaned up. And I think that's why, and this has just happened in the last year, I think that's why we're seeing a huge, exponentially getting more and more information and getting command of things quicker. And it's, like I say, when people talk about God, I don't see one God. I see a whole bunch of scientists and creation specialists and people with a whole lot of love and compassion that created this universe. It's not one God.
I'd say kind of source creators rather than source creator. Maybe source creators.
Exactly.
Okay. Steve, you got another question there?
I just wondered, is it fair to say that we are living in a hologram? And if we are living in a hologram, do we still have free will? I mean, this is a question that comes up time and time again. Do we have free will inside this hologram / matrix? Or is it
predetermined?
Is it predetermined? Yeah. Are we on a path and, no matter what we do to deviate from the path, it's predetermined and we will always come back onto the path,
that's something, some of these New Age philosophies, sometimes they've got some truth to them, but I see it with a little different twist. I think we're supposed to have free will, but when somebody dupes you and then wipes your mind out and then puts you in a situation where you can't remember anything, that's really not free will. I've got another article on my website called A Trick of the Light that talks about this duping process and how, especially people that work with white light, I would never work with white light. Use crystal clear light because you can see through that. If you use white light, It's just like painting white over a wall. You can't see what's behind it, but there's still the graffiti, right? But if you use crystal, you can see through everything, and everything's transparent. So when you start using light in your work, in your healing work, start using clear light and see what happens. Now, another thing that you brought up about not having free will, what I found out just recently, well, I've been working on this with some people for, several years now, but just recently that, they talk about the crystal kids and how wonderful they are, and they're the next generation of awesomeness. Well, what I found with these crystal kids, and a lot of my clients, crystal kids, a lot of them came to Indigo families, right? So, and a lot of them are just driving the parents nuts because they're like a crystal. They pick up everything all the time, and it drives them nuts, and it drives their parents nuts. And if you don't keep them cleaned out, they will just keep picking up more crap, and it's just like mayhem. So I've been trying to teach my clients how to clean out their kids, and it works for a few days, and then they pick it up, and it's just a horrible cycle. Well, what I found is that the crystal, the whole crystal phenomena, it's not natural. It's like our chakras and the Kundalini. It's not a natural state. It is, if we can have these crystals projected on us, it is easier for them to program us, because that's what crystals are, is they're programmable. And if they get into your body, it starts breaking down. If you think about every kind of disease, it seems to first crystallize before it starts breaking down, whether it's a bone spur or a lot of times heart attacks and strokes are because of crystallization inside the body. So people think that because crystals are awesome and beautiful on the outside, that if we have them on the inside and in our aura, that it's going to be great. Well, it's not. And I know I'm going to get slammed for this because it's not kosher. But I'm going to be working on an article on that will be out really soon. And one of the things that these crystals do is block your memories. And so you ask if we have free will. Well, we were supposed to. We had free will till other mobsters came in and took it and duped us and did all this stuff to us. And that's what the waking up process is, realizing that we've been duped royal, and we're not happy about it. And we're going to get to the truth, and we're going to go back, and we're going to get our memories back. They're so afraid of us getting our memories back, because if we do, we're just going to laugh and go, "You guys are so stupid. I look at all the stuff I can do that I didn't know I could do." Exactly.
We have the knowledge is there, and we have certain abilities. We just have to relearn them abilities. I have that memory come back. Steve?
Exactly.
Well, just in relation to the brain and what we know and what we don't know, I know some people have said for a long time that we only use a small percentage of our brain. And that's kind of a question. If we only use a small percentage, is the rest of the brain, is it like an empty hard drive, or is it full of, kind of trinkets and loads of great information that we need to tap into or we need to unlock? I mean, do we know what's in there?
Is that part encrypted, you mean? So we need to unencrypt it?
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly what's happened. It's been encrypted. And we've been working on some methods of getting, hacking into our own brain so we can get the information that's there. And I will be posting. What I wanted to do first is, me and a couple of the indigos that I work with are doing research and development on this. And once we get a protocol that we feel comfortable will work for everyone, then we'll put that out on the website. But it has to do with locking, once you go in and do work on yourself, you need to lock it and seal it so that somebody else doesn't come in and unlock it and get back in. If you put your own seal, and what we found is that everybody has their own geometric shape that is a seal. And we've been telling people to just start doodling until they feel like they've got it perfect. It took me a couple of days to get mine, and then I just started remembering it. And after that, I started to, every time I would clear myself out, I would lock and seal the work that I had done, so some jerk in some jerk out there wouldn't come in and try to put it back in. I know a lot of you people out there that are listening have had the same thing. You clear something, you feel really good for a week or two, and then wham, it comes back. Well, if you use these seals, then it makes it harder to hack. Not that it's impossible, but it's going to make it a heck of a lot harder for them to hack. And if you remember, like in Bible times and stuff, they talk about the seal of Solomon and the seal of this and seal of that. Seals were used. It was a magical imprint that they used, and the seal itself was an actual living being. It's an actual entity. And so these seals are a big deal. They were a big deal back then. They're a big deal to the powers that be. And they're a big deal to us, because if we can find our own seal and start using it, lock people out, figure out how to decrystallize ourselves so we can hack into our own biocomputers, it's going to be game over. And we're doing that. And we're almost there. We've almost got the protocol right, and we will be posting that soon.
Excellent. We look forward to know more about that. I actually seen on the website somewhere recently, LauraLee, that you have been doing some research into Alzheimer's disease. And it says here, from LauraLee's investigations of the psychology and neurodistortions involved in this ailment, she has been able to help others correct and regenerate from these symptoms. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, how can people can regenerate?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. My mother died of Alzheimer's. And so it was a real, since I was in the holistic healing field, it was just my passion. It's like, I've got to find out why. And indigos are like that. They got to know why. So in my research, and a lot of it was intuitive, I kind of started putting some pieces together and found out that my mother was severely abused by her father, who was supposed to be a good churchgoer, blah, 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 blah. And not only was she abused, all of her siblings were, and even the animals on the farm were not safe from this creep. Well, what happened is, and I know for a fact that he threatened every one of them. If you tell blah, 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 then I will kill your sister or kill your mother or blah, blah, blah. So they all shut up. All we knew was what a wonderful man their father was, blah, blah, blah. Well, then, when Mom started fading out, I was kind of figuring this out. And then some of the brothers and sisters would come up and say, yeah, I remember one time when Dad blah, 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 blah. And then they'd shut up and they'd say, you will never hear me say that again, and don't ever repeat that. Well, it kind of started getting out. And so by the time my mom, by the time I could really do something about it, she was too far gone to help her. She was babbling, and she was gone. And I also feel like when somebody with Alzheimer's is that far gone, their spirit left. I mean, she left a long time ago. She'd come to check in once in a while, but she was gone. There was just a bunch of creepy, nasty entities that had taken over her body. And I could see them in her eyes. One time she chased my kids around with a knife, with a butcher knife, and I had to intervene, and I grabbed the knife, and the look she gave me was, I am going to kill you. And I grabbed the knife away, and I said, Mom, come back. And then she looked at me in this horror, and she looked at the knife, and she started to cry. And she just went and sat down and cried, and she couldn't talk, she couldn't verbalize at that time. And so that's how, I knew that she came in and she came out. Well, I had a friend who started getting symptoms of Alzheimer's. She started not kind of remembering things, and when she'd go to the store, she'd forget what she was going there for. Then sometimes she was afraid to drive because she didn't know if she'd find her way back. So I thought, you know what? I'll bet she's got the same thing my mom did. So I started working with her and found out that her brother had taken advantage of her quite a bit when she was younger. And she dearly loved her brother, and she was afraid if she told her dad that her dad would kill him. So she kept this secret in longer and longer and longer. And when you do that, you can't hold it forever. What she was trying to do is forget. What my mother was trying to do is forget. So you start forgetting, then you forget, what day it is. You forget how to do simple things. I worked with my friend, and gradually she started coming out of it. I did some of the methods that I use in healing to trigger memory and things like that. And she had a good cry, and I said, listen, it's okay. At least you know the truth.
So can I just ask, are you linking the likes of Alzheimer's and stuff to a possible connection to abuse?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe not every time, and I know that there's because my mom drank a lot of pop, a lot of like sugar. Well, she drank a lot of aspartame pop, right?
Yeah.
Because she thought it was going to make her skinny, right? That was back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And so I know that there is a toxicity aspect to it. Yes. And maybe not everybody that has Alzheimer's has had something hideous happen to them that they're trying to bury. But for you out there that suspect that somebody has that, look into that. Because if you get it in time, they will come back. My friend came back, and that's been like 30 years. And she's fine. And she was like 40-something when this happened, when I worked with her.
Can I just touch base on just something that Steve mentioned there, just to me, that the whole kind of aspartame thing, you're probably aware of this anyway, aspartame when he came about in 1983 with the company Searle. So when you mentioned aspartame and pot in the 60s and 70s, is this something different?
Aspartame and pot, is that what you said?
No, I think she was pop.
Pop. Oh, soda
fizzy
pop.
drinks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, pop. Yeah, aspartame and pop. Yeah. Sorry, pop. So, because the aspartame that we know and we hate, we know was developed with a company called Searle in 1983, and Donald Rumsfeld was the CEO at the time. So, was this something different in the 60s and 70s?
Saccharin. They had saccharin at that time. And it was in everything to make you skinny. Take out the sugar. It became, after a while, I'm like, give me the sugar. That's at least sort of natural, So it was, back then it was saccharin.
Okay, no problem. We do have more questions to get through, so let's crack on with them. We'll try and get through the questions.
Yeah, we have a question come in from Chris earlier. And LauraLee, Chris is wondering, are you aware of the work of Dolores Cannon in connection with the star seed people? And he said the 3 waves.
A little bit. I don't really go out and see what other people are doing. I know other people are working with they call them star children and stuff. But what I found is that a lot of them are just, they have like some information, but they don't have the bigger picture, like with what happened to the hologram to get it messed up in the first place. And if you don't understand that, it puts a whole different spin on everything. So I kind of, I met her once at a conference, but I haven't really been following her work, so I can't really say anything.
No, that's okay. What do you think on the difference between the new Earth and the old Earth? Because we've been kind of told about that as well. And what we've been told, the divide is the fact the people who are awake and aware is the new Earth, and the people who are not awake and aware is the old Earth.
I guess that's a way of saying it.
No, I don't. I don't want to go down the New Age route and all that kind of stuff. It's just we know there is a divide out there between the people that have taken the red pill and are awake of what's going on, and the people who are just completely oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah, on a psychic level, that is really true. There's a huge division, and it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. I mean, my whole family is immersed in. Well, they've come along a little way, but you know, all my siblings and stuff are still in the Earth consciousness. But their kids are waking up. So that's that's exciting. But yes, there is a division. But I'm really hopeful. Not hopeful. I see that we do win this war. In fact, I've been told that. My main guide, Hal, he's the cosmic informant. He's a real jokester, and he always makes me laugh. And he said, if you don't laugh and break the spell, he calls what they have on us is a spell. Laughter is the biggest dream spell shatterer that you can have. And if we just keep the laughter going, you are not going to get sucked back into. It's really hard not, with all the craziness that's going on, to not get sucked into the gloom and the doom. Yes, we need to be aware. Yes, there's fires up here in Washington. There's floods down there. Next question is, okay, what can we do about it psychically? What can we do about it intuitively to bring things back into balance? And Hal told me, he said, we do win this war. And that was back several years ago when I thought we were going to hell in a handbasket. And so I can see just in the last few years, and especially in the last few months, huge, huge strides forward. And the other side, they're getting worried. They're really worried, and they should be. It's like I say, be afraid, be very afraid. We're waking up in mass.
Well, that's the thing they're afraid of, and the thing that we were told is that the one thing they have left is fear, and this is the whole idea of what's going on. They're trying to promote fear with everything that's gone on with the hurricanes and everything else, and the fires over in the States. It seems that you guys seem to be getting the brunt of everything. But we have about 20-25 minutes left, and I'd like to cover the positives that are going on, because in the next few years, if not, I mean, everybody is kind of fed up. The people that are in the truth movement and the troops on the ground, so to speak, we're all getting tired. We're all, you know, we're fighting the fight, and you know, we're doing what we're doing. But it's like being in the trenches, you know, and you get tired, you know, fighting all the time. And it's always good to hear, you know, if there's any good news that's going on, and what's happening out there. So I don't know whether you and the people that you work with, if you've heard any good news.
Well, there is. There's a lot of good news, and I put some of it, well, I put a lot of it in my book, Cryogenetics. There are 5 keys that they're kind of hidden keys, but I'll tell you what one of them is. It's laughter and fearlessness. And if you can go into those states or get somebody else out of their doldrums through laughter, it makes you impermeable. They can't get to you. When you're laughing and, you know, rolling on the floor and just, you know, have your innards tickled, they can't touch you, and they hate that. And so if you can keep your laughter quota up every day, and when you get feeling crappy, you know, do something to smack yourself out. And when you're afraid, this is something that I've done. And, a couple of years ago, I was getting really bad psychic attack by what I call the cryptos. And it's a group of AIs that what they would do is project, you know, it's like transmit what I call emotional devastation, where all and emotional creepiness. It's like every thought that I would think would turn into a creepy emotion, and this got so bad it would make me sick, so I would almost to the point of throwing up. And the way I got out of that and the way I got immunities from that is to stand up, arch my back, stand up and say, no, you have this creepy feeling, whatever that is. If you're digital, this is going to turn into digital creepoids, and you have it. And flip it back on them, and after a while, they stop messing with me. I got immunities. Let's see, the last attack I had was a year ago in May. And I felt it coming up again, and I think, oh, no, not again, because it can drag you down, and this emotional warfare is hideous. If anybody's ever felt it, it's like you can't even describe it. It is like their upper echelon of war paraphernalia. So what I did when I started feeling this come back is go, no, ain't buying it. I am not going there. You can't make me go there. I am not buying what you're selling. You have it. And within seconds, I would feel extremely, extremely better and happy. And I'm like, it sure worked. And, 20 minutes later, if it came back, I'd do the same thing. And I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And now they can't use that on me anymore. So these tools, a lot of these tools are in the book, Cryogenetics. I would highly recommend that to your listeners because it's kind of like a handbook or it's like I said, we got here and we lost our handbook, now what do we do? Well, this is the handbook that you lost, and it will help you get yourself back together, get your head back together, get yourself focused, and start remembering who you are. And when you do that, they're really scared about that. That's why they try to make us go on the gerbil wheel, and we're always doing this and that. And we can never, really internalize our love for ourselves. And I would encourage your listeners, too, to say this all the time. I love me. I love me. And just, put your arms around yourself and love yourself. I know a lot of listeners that are out there that are single. And they're always like, I wish I had somebody. Well, being with somebody that's wrong is way worse than being alone. There's a lot worse things than being alone. So if you are alone, just, give yourself a hug and say, I love me, and start really feeling that reverb back and forth inside yourself, and it will give you an attitude adjustment. You go, yeah, I really do love myself. And when you love yourself, and, I don't want to sound like all New Agey because I really am not into New Age. I'm into authentic core love. And when you get into that, it changes everything. There is alchemy to that. It's like when you laugh, there's alchemy in laughter. When you love, there's alchemy in loving. And if you love yourself and go, I love myself, and dang it, I'm gonna pick myself back up, and I'm gonna keep going. It really changes the movie for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong or new agey about saying that you love yourself. Well, I know some people might think, oh yeah, loves himself, but you have to love yourself, because I think it's like they say on an airplane, before you can, in the event of a crash or whatever,
right.
Put on your own mask first before you try to help other people. So therefore, I think before you love another person, you have to love yourself first. You have to know what love is. You have to understand love before you can actually say to another human being, I love you. That's my feeling anyway.
Exactly. It's understanding it. And when you read cryogenetics, it will help you understand it on a whole new level. It's not just words. It's feelings. It's what I found is that our chakras are an imposed system, that our 7 chakras are not supposed to be there. They were implanted, and it will tell you how to get rid of those. But what we're supposed to be is this big core star in the middle of our chest, and then we have a star in our head and a star down by our loins. And what happens when you get rid of the chakras and put this authentic system back in place, when you do that, it automatically starts to spin, and it goes in a figure 8. It's like the energy comes from your heart, goes up to your head, comes down to your heart, goes down to your loins, comes into your heart. So everything's always being filtered through the heart. And it goes, like I say, in this figure 8 racetrack, and then it spins sideways. And when you get it revved up and spinning, it makes it really, really hard for outside energies to come in and mess with you. So I would encourage your listeners to start investigating this, and also when one thing that kind of makes me laugh is that, and I did too because I didn't know what else to call it, but we talk about our astral body and, I went out astral traveling and it was so wonderful and blah, blah, blah. Well, I found out that your astral body is actually another imposed system, and that's how a lot of these entities will get to you at night and abduct you and blah, 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 is through your astral body. And if you get rid of that, using the implant protocol that I have on my website, and it's also in the book, get rid of it and then reinstall your authentic system, the core star, the astral plane. When I got rid of my astral body, I stopped having horrible nightmares. I stopped having, I used to wake up with bruises and cuts. One time I had my hair cut, a lot, and all that crap quit, overnight. So I would encourage you to kind of look at that if you've had issues, with being abducted. It's harder I'm not saying impossible, but it's harder for them to abduct you if you don't have your astral body, because that's what they go through to get you. And there's nothing on the astral plane that's for all nightmares, and my Ghostbuster partner, Ronnie, she believes that that's where all the ideas for these monster horror movies came from, is the astral plane, and I believe it is, because there's nothing nice in the astral plane. It's all a bunch of garbage where the lowlifes hang out.
So tell us, LauraLee, what's your projection for the next couple of years? What's from the people that you work with? What's the plan of attack for the team, and what's happening on the planet? Have we crossed over where we're actually on the up now, and things are beginning to happen in a positive way?
Yes, we crossed that line yesterday, and yesterday I had a horrible day. It's like everything went wrong. I had a horrible, horrible day, and I think it was maybe frontlash and backlash for what I helped, create, and with a whole bunch of other people. It's not just me. I've got a huge team helping me, but it's like we got to the point of no return yesterday. So let's break out the kazoos and party hats. I'm not saying we don't need to still work, but it's not going to be, it's going to be it's a game changer. We had a game changer yesterday. So to answer your question, yes, absolutely, I believe that.
So we had excuse me. So we had the game changer. So, because we know the last 2 years, 2016, 2017, we've been told there's going to be a lot of revealing, loads of information coming out, and loads of good things happening. But you know what people always say, and it drives me nuts, is they keep saying, it's going to be here soon. The word soon, I've been hearing the word soon for the last 5 years, and it gets to be, one of them words that when people go, it's going to happen soon, So, do you know, you only get stuck in dates as well, because a lot of the time it's windows of opportunity, and depending on whether certain things happen will depend on when other things happen. But do you have anything that's, near enough that will be happening, not so much in on a date basis, but something that, positives that are happening?
Well, this is one thing I can tell you. A lot of the creepy, nasty timelines that they keep trying to shove us into, and I'm not the only one that's been doing this. I know other people are doing this work, but a lot of these horrible, nasty timelines are being clipped. It's like we bring our team into the present timeline and clip the old ones. And so things are improving that way. But as far as soon, let me just see if I can... what I think is we're going to see physical evidence that we are winning this war.
Because we had the Mandela effect, remember, there's a lot of that going on, and the timeline's looping as well. So we have 2013 looping in 2017, so the stuff from 2013 coming back up again in 2017, and what we've seen that happening, and as I said, the Mandela effect as well.
Yes. This is just what I'm getting. Start looking, because you will see physical evidence of changes. It's like, yeah, our team's backing us. We got our team, we got a cosmic cleanup crew on the other side, and we got cosmic cleanup crew here on the ground. And yeah, I'm just getting, start looking, because it's happening.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's brilliant. I'm glad it is happening. We have a few minutes left there. Sorry that music came on there. It's, again, we'll have to talk to Vin about that. The PIR, the advert keeps cutting in for some reason. So we had to close down the chat room, I think, in People's Internet Radio. Yeah, so, well, that's good that things are happening. And, we are seeing positives, but what they're doing now with the likes of the last-ditch attempt of trying to cause problems, martial law and everything else, what's your take on Planet X? Do you believe in it, or do you believe that it's out there, or it's not going to happen, or do you think it's just another conspiracy theory or something?
I think it's out there, but I think that they're getting taken over too. I don't think it's all hunky-dory. I don't think that they're, and like I say, this is just recent. They're not as in control as what they thought they were. So it's going to kind of be a crapshoot as to how it all plays out. But it's going to be a better movie than this horrible Armageddon that they were trying to create. I'm just not seeing that right now. Maybe something will happen in I don't know. But right now, I'm not seeing that. So that's my answer.
Do you think we're on a positive timeline at the moment, that it was changed somewhere along the line?
Yes. We have been like railroaded into the timeline that's supposed to be with all of this. People say, well, but you have to have conflict, and you have to have good and evil and blah blah blah. No, you don't. You don't have to have good and evil. We can have challenges. In the world that was supposed to have been here, we have things like, maybe somebody fall and break their leg, or they'd be in an auto accident. But what we didn't have is the extreme manipulation, mind control, lying, cheating, bull crap that's going on all the time. So what I see is we'll go back to how this original hologram and the timeline was supposed to have been, which is, you have problems here and there, but you don't have this horrible imposing of other people's will on you all the time. And so that's what I'm seeing we're going to now, is this timeline the way it should have been, the original timeline.
Well, that's good. Now, I am seeing...
By the way, I've got to tell you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are on the worst possible scenario timelines. All the other ones are better. This is as bad as it gets. So there's not a worse one. This is the worst. At least that's what my informant told me.
Well, as the song says, the only way is up, because we can't go down. Right. Well, that's good. We are seeing changes. Something that was announced during the week, and I didn't say it on my week, but the newspapers over in oh God, Steve, I hope you're not getting my cold.
Gesundheit.
Oh my God, he's going to curse me all week if he does. Something that was said during the week, a lot of people are turned away from the TV and the newspapers, and there's a conglomerate of newspapers who are now merging together, and it's just going to be one owner, 4 newspapers going into one. Which is fantastic, because at the end of the day, if they're losing that much business, people are not buying the newspapers and not buying the propaganda. That's fantastic. And switching off TV. More and more people are waking up. We know that. They are waking up in a massive way. And we have to just keep pushing ahead and being in the trenches and doing what we can and educating people. But we're going to be finishing up in a minute there, LauraLee. Is there anything you want to finish on, or do you have any statement you want to make? And then I'll pass you over to Steve to get all your contact details. But is there any statement that you want to make, or any pieces of advice you want to give our listeners?
Well, I'll tell you this, and I've said it before. Remember in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and the thing that changed everything was when he said, "Be excellent to each other, dude." That's my closing statement.
That's a classic movie.
Yeah, that is a classic movie. Yeah, be excellent to each other, and that is the case. Okay, you have a question, Steve, before we finish up?
Yes, we do have a question. Joan just sent in a question there, LauraLee, and she's wondering, do you have any knowledge that what is being said in relation to Hurricane Irma? I'll actually just read it as it is. Maybe that might make more sense. I give up. Does your guest have any knowledge that what is being said, that not just Hurricane Irma, but the next two to follow are man-made? And if so, can she and her workers advise us how to deal with this and possibly prevent it happening?
Yes, I believe it would. Some of them were man-made. Some of them were man-enhanced through technology that's like beyond HARP, and off-planet was doing a lot of it. And so I would use your own powers of recreation and go, no, we're not doing that. You know, we're not going down there. Maybe we can have a little wind, but it's not going to be this massive destruction. And just out-create it. We can do that. We can out-create it. And what we can do as we're out-creating it is expose the people that did create it. Make that part of the out-creation, because we need to have these boogers exposed for the crap that they're doing to us. And so make that a part of it, and that will scare the hell out of them, especially as you start really feeling your creation skills and your X-Men abilities. You will be amazed at what you can do. So yes, just stand strong. Don't get into the fear. Laugh and just get into that fearlessness and go, no, you have these hurricanes in your equipment that's transmitting this stuff, and flip it back on them.
Obviously, we would have to do this en masse. I mean, obviously, if one or two people are kind of going to do this, it's probably not going to have much of an impact. We probably would need millions of people doing this, would we?
It depends. It depends on the people. Some people out there listening know that they have telekinetic abilities, and they really can turn the tide and flip this stuff back on the perpetrators.
Yeah.
So all of you that know how to do that, yeah, let's do that. Let's flip it back on them. You don't know how many times I have done that, and it works.
Yeah, we need to send it back to them, which is the same as when you get a psychic attack, you need to send it back to them. Laura, we've reached that time, LauraLee. Thanks a lot for coming on. Much appreciated. Great information there. I'm going to pass you off to Steve. Steve's going to get all your contact details and where people can track you down, as we always say.
Track you down!
And try and find you. Again, thank you for coming on, Steve.
Yeah, so a lot of great information, LauraLee, and thanks for sharing it with us this evening. Hopefully there will be a part 2 at a later date. We'd love to have you on again. We do have some links here for you. FirstWaveIndigos.com, GhostbusterGals.com. We also have a link to the YouTube channel, and MysticHouse.com is another one that I came across while searching your name. We will put those links up there. People can check them out. There's a lot of great information there. And just one of the things that I noted as well, it says one of the things LauraLee has been noted for is spontaneous healing and a sense of well-being that occur when she does speaking engagements and phone consultations, whether it's the tones of her voice or her ability to emit healing energy, we don't know. But if anyone does feel better after listening to LauraLee this evening, well, you're not alone out there. LauraLee, just before you go, any other links that you want to throw out there for people to get more information?
Looks like you got it. You got me down good. I'm impressed.
We're on your trail. We're going to hunt you down.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, LauraLee, stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and people'sinternetradio.com.
Okay, Ray Parker Jr., Ghostbusters there, especially for LauraLee and the team at ghostbustergals.com.
Brilliant stuff. Right, our next guest on, we wanted to get Thomas on, and we asked Thomas would you come on, because Thomas, as most of you know, lives in Florida, and at the moment, allegedly, does a Category 4 hurricane called Irma hitting Florida, or is it? Let's find out. Good evening, Thomas, how are you?
I'm doing okay. You're not.
No.
You're not too good yourself.
This is my James.
Sounds quite heavy.
This is my I was going to say James, my Barry White voice, and I'm all bummed up.
So you're gonna do the peaceful hour later on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So tell us what's happening. Don't tell me you're sitting now on the beach with an ice cream cone on your phone, and it's all green screen special effects. Tell us what's happening over there. Is it happening, or what's going
on? It's all BS, all of it. There is a storm. There was a worse storm. There was some interaction with it, and it's been smashed to smithereens. Now, the eye is over. I watched the live radar when it went over Key West. And, of course, they'll show you pictures and video of the flooding in Key West, when reality is Key West is built 3 foot above sea level. So it's going to splash over. You know, any afternoon storm will cause that. Should they really be building on sandbanks? No. And certainly not 3 foot above sea level. So, you know, the waves are going to come in on a normal storm, never mind a hurricane. So they're telling you it's Category 4. The radar, because, you know, we're all like mini meteorologists in Florida, because we do have to watch it because we're in that zone, and it's showing nothing. So there is a storm approaching, and it has some sort of eye. It went across Key West, and the wind speed recorded was 51 miles an hour, which is 23 miles short of a Category 1 hurricane, and 60 miles to 70 miles short of a Category 3, and near 80 miles per hour short of a Category 4. Oh. It's now going towards Naples. It's about less than an hour from Naples, and you're bearing in mind the winds are on the northern side of it. So the heavier winds are now at Naples, and I've just been on their live radar figures, and it's showing the wind speed 47.
Okay, so there's something going on. Now, I have to say, Houston, what happened in Houston, I've noticed there's kind of a media blanket with Houston at the moment. I'm not hearing anything on Houston at all. All the focus is on Hurricane Irma at the moment, and Jose. Now, apparently Jose is going to go off, and that's not going to be a bother, but there is a concern. One of the things, excuse me, one of the things I read today, and I don't know how true it is, but they said that this was an exercise to see if people would be obedient if a disaster were to happen, and how obedient the people would be because of the whole martial law thing. So I think there's a hidden agenda behind this, and obviously I know there's certain things you can say and you can't say. Is there anything you can say on that?
Yes, there is a hidden agenda at this point to protect those of us involved in doing certain things, to prevent certain things. We have to keep that quiet. We are aware of it. There's some rather strange movement going on around the country. It's not just people being evacuated. There's other things being evacuated, and it looks like a giant drill, in essence. And yes, that could be part of it, but there's some other more serious fun and games amiss that we're dealing with currently.
Now, something that I said on last week's show, and I don't know whether this ties into it, so I'm only putting it out there, was the interview with that guy who was made homeless. He was a police officer, and when they interviewed him live, they called him Jake, and he turned around and said the Red Cross and the Housing Association, or the Homeless Association, they were caught killing people in the FEMA camps. Now, I don't know whether that was a setup or he was genuine, and the news presenter changed the subject straight away when he said that, because, you know, it was live and there was no 7-second delay. And other people have been mentioning certain things on video. They've been doing their own videos and going, all these promises of just 12,000 or 1,200 boats turning up to help people. There's no boats. They're not there. It's not happening. People are starving, and people need water and they need help. And there's gangs going around and taking advantage of people as well. I was listening to an interview with a lady who was on the survival program. She was there with a guy, and she said that there was these guys going around looting, and they were looking at what we had, and as if to say, can we take them and take their stuff? So there's more sinister things going on there.
Yeah, well, in essence, the media, we're used to the media. They always have to provide a distraction, and it's the sleight of hand. And I think you have to be fairly dim or too ensconced in the propaganda of the media to not say that Houston was not a proper event, or not a natural event. Now, I'm waiting for full confirm, because I've asked around some of the higher ups for the deaths purported to be in the hundreds and maybe in the thousands of the homeless in Texas, but as yet it is unconfirmed. They've been rounding up the homeless in buses in Florida. That has been confirmed. Where they're going, nobody knows. So there's a lot of fun and games going on, but I can't confirm that the homeless are being murdered in Texas. Well, what I can confirm is the Red Cross. And if people still think the Red Cross is anything but cabal and not good, you really need to think again. These people, they're putting them in shelters, and only they can provide the food or donations. The public are not allowed to give to the people, period. A guy got up in his plane and flew to Texas with 40 hot meals because they're not having any hot meals, and the Red Cross took it off them and put them in a freezer and told them they're allowed to dish it out, nobody else. And this happened in Katrina, and it's happening again, and we have to cut these people off and cut them down. Red Cross is staying in a 5-star hotel at your donation expense. They're not slumming it out in vans. Oh no, they're in a 5-star hotel in Houston. That's where your donations are going. Stop giving money to any of the named charities. None of them are any good. All of them have cabal banks, and this is one of the things where all these events are taking place. It's another way to collect money off the public, because the reality is they don't have any. It's gone. They're all broke. And I've been saying this on the show. They're broke, and so they're creating these chaos events, Barcelona, London, so people then go and feel guilty and give their donations, and they are pocketing it. They did it in Haiti.
Yeah.
With the Clinton Foundation, 19.6 billion they collected for Haiti, and they've built 6 homes in 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to, that has to stop. Definitely has to stop. The whole idea of the people going missing. Now, I've seen another video of 2 young guys, and I don't know how true it is. I'm just going to say what I seen in the video. But they were showing all this land was dug up, and in the land, what these kind of containers, concrete containers, one after another, and there was loads upon loads of them. And they felt, and this is what they were saying, they felt that they were full of bodies.
I wouldn't put it past them. Seriously, I wouldn't. These people are psychopaths.
Yeah.
You know, if they're going to make money, even the airlines, people. I'm going to have to find out the name of the airline so we can then boycott them, because people were trying to evacuate out because of all the fear porn on the TV. It's going to be 160 mile an hour winds, and and they were terrified, and so they wanted to evacuate out. One airline quoted a family of 3 to fly from Florida to New York, $10,300.
Yeah, they're milking it, isn't it? Aren't they? They really are milking it.
They put the gas or the petrol, as you know it, that's gone up 70 cents, 60 pence a gallon. When we've been told for the last 3 years we've got a massive surplus, but no one's buying it. So even if it shuts down for months on end, there's no reason for the price to go up because of all this surplus. So again, of course, then they're collecting taxes on the gas, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's collecting money again.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about, is collecting money, and I find it sick,
Well, these, as you say, they are psychopaths, and it's gas when people say, oh, I don't believe that. And I said, you know what? When people like you say, I don't believe it, that lets them get away with what they're doing, because you don't believe it. You can't open your mind, because people have a habit of putting their excuse me, people have a habit of putting their morals on these people, and these people are psychopaths. They have no empathy, so they don't care. They don't care. They'll, as we said before, if there's a queue of people in a chipper, they'll chuck a grenade in, kill everybody so they can get to the top of the queue. These people are psychopaths. So people that's
what one of the elites told me. That
So people have to stop saying, oh, I don't believe that. Well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to believe it. And it's because of your disbelief that they are getting away with it. Steve, you have a question for Tom?
No, I just have a comment. It's just in relation to the airlines putting up the prices. Some information online. It does say online listings for some airlines initially showed very high prices for flights out of Florida during the approach of Hurricane Irma. But some airlines also later instituted price caps to ensure reasonable and affordable fares for those needing to get out of the state before the storm. Obviously, they were probably shamed into doing about $10,000.
Yeah,
$10,300 for 3 flights.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So these people are on the street, as CNN reporters, and they're there and they're getting drenched in rain and weather. I mean, it's probably what. Excuse me.
But
a category 3.
No, it's not even that. It's category 1.
And they're just in it saying that it's category, they have the little monitor thing on the screen, and it's going from 4, and it's, and it's going up and down, and it's staying on kind of around 4, and it's not even that at all.
Well, sorry, it does say actually here that some of the video footage that's being widely circulated was actually captured in Uruguay, it says, in 2016, so it's not even.
They're putting loop videos out from earlier times.
Okay, so why? What's that?
It's all about putting people in fear.
Oh, okay. It's the whole fear thing. Yeah.
Of course, we've got the biggest fear day in American history coming up tomorrow, haven't we?
9/11, yeah.
Yeah. And it just plays on it.
And do you reckon something's going to happen just to kind of for them? Because the 23rd of September apparently is supposed to be another fear day.
Yeah, they've been talking about that a while. But then they thought this was going to be a fear day, and they failed. Yeah. But it will. You watch. I'm not saying that there's not going to be some damage. There will be some damage, but this rubbish, catastrophic this and catastrophic that, and 12-foot flood surges 20 miles inland. They're talking out of their ass. You know, I'm sorry, you just are.
And why is there? Why do you think there's a media blackout regarding Houston and Texas? Because I haven't. It's all about the Hurricane Irma, but I haven't seen any news reports on Houston. There just seems to be a media blackout now.
Well, they won't, because they've been found out. Because the public there, like in not Katrina, it was another one, Ivan, I think it was. The public were waiting for the Red Cross and FEMA. They never turned up, so they started looking after themselves. So those people down south, the south of the Gulf, all know that waiting for the government and Red Cross, you'll wait forever. So these people all get together. There's a group called the Cajun Navy. You know, they just get together and they get out and go out in the boats. They've all got boats there, you know, it's the river. A lot of them live on the river inlets and that. And they're going out in the boats and rescuing people. But the government won't be showing up. Yeah. Because I think I touched this on Thursday's show. Like I said, there's certain things I just can't say at the moment. But somebody's set a load of fires off all down the west coast, so all the emergency teams are blocked off on the west coast. We've had the Houston incident with all the rain, so all emergency services down south are now blocked off. And then we have for Florida, southeast. They've got clowns sitting in North Carolina promoting fear on the Weather Channel. It's not even going to get out of Florida. Given the current wind speeds. You know, we see where, for people who live in Florida, you know, between June and late September, every afternoon we get a deluge for half an hour. Virtually most afternoons, about 4 o'clock, because it's a peninsula, it comes in from the Atlantic and it comes in from the Gulf and they clash in the middle, and it downpours for maybe half an hour, and you can get 2 to 5 inches of rain in that half an hour, and you can watch it on the TV, and you see the different colours for the intensity of the rain, and red and purple means it's a tardy deluge.
Now, can I just ask you, if you look out your window now, you're in, are you in Orlando?
About 30 miles south. So we're near the storm, inverted commas, than Orlando.
So if you look out your window now, what are you seeing?
What I'm seeing is it's grey, it's overcast. There is a steady drizzle and a light breeze.
There you go. Okay. And that's why we asked you to come on, Thomas, because what we're getting on the news and what's really happening, and you're over there.
Yeah,
that's two different things.
It's frightening. I've got family over in the UK and friends in the UK. Oh my God! I'm telling them, you know, ignore what they're turning the news off. Just ignore it. You know, it's going to get a little bit worse, allegedly, around 8 o'clock tonight. But the way the wind speeds are showing up, and the radar is not the only portion of red or purple, which is the really heavy rain, is straight above the eye. But the eye is about to make landfall, so that's going to dissipate.
So, all the people that did pack up and go, they didn't really need to. Maybe put up a couple of shutters on the windows and stuff just in case. But
it just depends how close they are to the coast. You know, there's a lot of people who live in mobile homes or manufactured homes. You know, you don't want to be in them in any wind.
Yeah.
There's a reason they call them mobiles, because if it gets windy, it goes mobile, you know. So, those people should move out, because if there's any sort of heavy wind or gust, they're not surviving, you know, or the tree knocks down, it crushes the manufacturers and mobile homes, so.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, you've got questions there for Thomas.
Well, not so much a question, more of a comment from Duncan on People's Internet Radio. He said it's a land grab, just like the land grab with Hurricane Katrina. He said very few people have been rehomed back into the Katrina area. There was a rumour, he says, that a lot of the homeless in the wake of Katrina, that people were rounded up and all shot in a football arena.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of mainly the black regions of New Orleans and Katrina, of course, they deliberately flooded, broke the dams, because the military were in there, or certain types of military. I'll get that clear. They were caught blowing the dams.
That's right.
And so it flooded the whole area. And then you were bussing people out. Now, where did they get taken to? Houston.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
You've seen a pattern now.
Yeah, yeah. And then the FEMA camps, homeless people disappearing. You know, even to the level, Thomas, of food and looting, I will mention.
Yeah.
You know.
There is a certain people taking advantage. And it sickens me, in Houston when they're carrying 55-inch TVs down the road. You can't eat TVs.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's sadly part of human nature. There's always people that's going to take advantage of situations, and people of low morals.
Yeah, the looting is definitely going on.
If they're taking food and water out of the stores, it's going to get ruined anyway if there's a storm surge. So, what's the point? Why just let the people take it? The insurance is supposed to cover it anyway. But, if they're walking out with TVs and all kinds of designer clothes and shoes, really? Yeah.
Well, look, that's just the way society is. I don't think there's much you can do, about that. I was speaking to another listener during the week, and her name is Valerie, and she lives in Mexico. And I asked Valerie about that earthquake as well, because again, do you really want to believe what they're putting on TV, or did it happen? And she said yes, it did actually happen. She wasn't anywhere near it, but she did say that it did happen. So it's always good to get the kind of people who are living in the location to get their opinion and get feedback rather than watching the news, because I've seen how good green screen is, and you would think that, if people want to see how good green screen is, just go to YouTube and type in Hollywood movies green screen, and you'll see how brilliant it is and what they do.
The classic is the first or second conference after Hillary Clinton died last year, where they're showing her a picture of her on the screen, and another camera's showing there's nobody there.
That's right, yeah, I remember that. Do you want to just mention that, because people probably didn't understand it if they haven't seen it. Just tell them again what happened there.
Well, I got a call on a Sunday night, 11:15, September the 4th last year, which was a week before the entity known as Hillary fell into the vehicle on September the 11th, the Sun Memorial thing. They fairly high up the agency chain, we'll say, had said Hillary died at 9 p.m. on September the 4th, so it was about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4. And they started using doubles, and people started noticing. She went sick, and then 24 hours later she turns up outside in the middle of New York with no security guards, which is not allowed. Normally there's hundreds of them around. She was 30 pounds lighter and about 15 to 20 years younger, with a so-called serious illness 24 hours previously. And this is the same when you said she had a brain aneurysm 3 years ago and came out a week later. Yeah. Having had surgery, but there's no cuts on her head.
Yeah.
They're using doubles, and people have got to get used to it. People think this is all science fiction and clones and all that stuff. I'm not really going to get into clones, but they've used doubles for a long, long time. Look at the movies.
They did it in World War II. Churchill had a clone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the movies. You think...
or double, I should say, not a clone.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger and all these Tom Cruise and all them are doing these stunts. They're not. It's body doubles. And you don't notice, because if the double comes out and they say, this is Hillary Clinton, then people go, oh, it's Hillary Clinton. But you're not looking. It only has to look similar. And you accept it. Oh, she looks a bit rough today. She looks a bit old. She hasn't done her makeup properly. No, it's not the original.
Yeah. Okay, well, Thomas, we're going to have to leave it there, because we have a couple of things to go through. But listen, thanks a lot for coming on and giving us a heads up on what's happening in Florida. And you know what? Maybe if we have time next week, excuse me, we might get an update off you as well, but you might mention that on your show. So I'll pass you over to Steve, because we have a few things, we have a bit of music to play and a few things to get through before we finish up. But if you want to quickly give Steve the links for your show, maybe people can tune in next week and hear what the update is on the intel that you have. Steve. Okay,
Thomas Williams, the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. Thomas, when can people hear your show?
It's every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's on the Spreaker network, Spreaker.com/user/8955881. So
or if they simply just go onto Google and type in Thomas Williams, Truth, Honour and Integrity, the link will pop up. And I know they can subscribe as well, and if they miss the live show, they will get an email with a link to the podcast also.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, the Tommy Williams channel, and it's on thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org also, all the shows.
Brilliant stuff. All right, Thomas, just stay with us there. We're just going to play a bit of music, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, we're back. Kate Bush, cloud busting. Alan was just telling me before we went live this evening that it was quite an interesting song. It's related to chemtrails.
Well, Steve's going to read out the information. What happened was, I'll just give you the intro. I was watching a documentary about Kate Bush, an incredible woman, incredible musician. I mean, at 16, while me and Steve were out on our bikes, she was in the studio writing fantastic material, music. It's unbelievable. But she started talking about this song, Cloudbuster. And basically, she read a book by a guy called Peter Reich, and I thought, oh, that name sounds familiar. And it turns out that Peter Reich is the son of Wilhelm Reich, the chembusters. So I thought, okay. So she read the book, and the book talks about Peter and his dad and the things they got up to. And I'll pass it over to Steve, and he can read the rest of it. Very interesting. Music trivia, quite interesting.
Okay, it says this famous book, the inspiration behind Kate Bush's 1985 hit song Cloudbusting, is the extraordinary account of life as friend, confidant and child of the brilliant but persecuted Austrian psychoanalyst Wilhelm Reich. Peter, his son, shared with his father the revolutionary concept of a world where dream and reality are virtually indistinguishable, and the sense of mission which set him and his followers apart from the rest of the human race. Here, Peter Reich writes vividly and movingly of the mysterious experiences he shared with his father, of flying saucers, the Cloudbuster Rainmakers and the FDA narcs, and the final tragic realization of his father's death, which woke him up to the necessity of living out his life in an alien world. Already regarded as a modern classic, A Book of Dreams is not only a beautifully written narrative of a remarkable friendship and collaboration, but a loving son's heartfelt tribute to a loving father.
So that video, if you look at the video with Donald Sunderland and Kate Bush, is all about Wilhelm Reich and his son and the technology. And I only found out that out during the week, and I was kind of blown away with it. That she actually did a song about it. So quite interesting. Have a look at the video on YouTube, and it'll give you another take on it. Right, Sorry about this, folks. But it's a cold. What can you do now? As you know, we've a few minutes left. I was down at the funeral, Johnny Squires, during the week, and there was some great words that was said by Ben and the family, and Johnny's sense of humour and his approach to things, which was very funny, because we should celebrate a person, you know. It shouldn't be all doom and gloom. So, I've kind of, as a kind of tribute to Johnny Squires, I have a little joke here, which would probably be what sounds like Johnny. It suits Johnny to a T. And Steve's going to tell you what it is, because I'll only end up coughing halfway through it. So, over to you, Steve.
Right, you'll only cough. I'll just stutter over the words. Anyway, here we go. So Johnny is just about to walk through the pearly gates, and St. Peter stops him and says, "I'm sorry, but you cannot enter heaven without passing a spelling test." "No problem," says Johnny. "What do you want me to spell?" "I want you to spell the word love," said St. Peter. "No problem," says Johnny. L-O-V-E. "That's great," says St. Peter. "Now, before you go in, can you do me a favour?" "Sure," says Johnny. "What do you want me to do?" "Well, I have to go off for a few minutes, so if anyone comes, don't let them in until they spell the word love." "Right," says Johnny. "Happy to help." So Johnny is standing outside the gates of heaven, and after a few minutes, a man walks towards him. He's just about to enter the gates, and Johnny stops him and says, "I'm sorry, but before you enter, you must pass a spelling test." "No problem," says the man. Johnny looks at the man and says, "Your face is very familiar. What job did you do when you were on Earth?" "I was a bailiff," says the man. "All right," says Johnny. So what word would you like me to spell?" says the bailiff. "Czechoslovakia," says Johnny.
So,
sorry, the crowd were just a little bit late there.
yeah, that's okay. So that would be something I think Johnny would probably do, you know, especially finding out that he's a bailiff. But there you go. So right, we have 4 minutes left. We're going to, Steve, if you want to read, we're at the Basis Conference next week, next Saturday, 11:45. I think 11:45 is when we're on. So if you are going, we'll see you there. Well, let's give it one more go. Let's give it another breakdown of what's going on there, Steve.
Yeah, so 11:45 p.m. or 11:45 in old money, as they say. Yes, the Ireland Awakens conference, for the last mention, is in conjunction with Miles Johnson's Basis project. It's taking place at the Talbot Hotel in Stillorgan on the weekend of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 15th, 16th and 17th of September. The 3-day event will comprise of 16 national and international speakers covering a wide range of subjects from UFOs, alien abductions, controlled remote viewing, sacred sites, the elite mind control, ritual child abuse and many, many more, including the waking up process. One of the main reasons for the conference is to get the up-to-the-minute new information from the Irish perspective out into the public domain. We're also very excited that, as well as Miles Johnson speaking here in Ireland, for the first time in many years, Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot will also be giving presentations on both the Saturday and the Sunday. So yeah, 11:45 p.m. is when we'll be up on the stage. Hopefully making a lot of sense and not making a holy show of ourselves.
Yeah, well, no, we have done the presentation. It's the first outing with our presentation, so we'll see how we get on with it. And again, we've been invited to do the Open Mind Conference in Waterford in March next year, 2018 as well, which is a compliment. Thanks to for being invited. Thanks to the people at the Open Mind Conference to invite us down there. So it's great that we can get out and we can do a little bit of a talk. So happy days. I'm hoping this cold should be gone, done and dusted by next week. Fingers crossed. Otherwise, I'll be going nuts. And I hope Steve doesn't. I hope you don't have it.
So do I.
That's why we're not in Studio 2, by the way. Because if we went to Studio 2, the last thing I want to do is pass it on to Steve's family, so that's why I said we'd do Studio 1.
He didn't want to pass it on to my family directly. So what he said was, I'll come up here, he'll give it to me, and then I'll go home and pass it on to my family.
Yeah, that's it. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Right, next week's guest is a chap called Winston Shroud. We were asked to get him on by a listener, and so we did email him, and he agreed to come on. So we were going to be talking to Winston Shroud next Sunday, if all goes well. But for myself, we've reached that time. Thanks for tuning in. Take it easy. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week. For myself, Alan James, bye-bye.
Okay, off to Lemsip land now for Alan. Yeah, for myself, Stephen George, it's been a great show, great information. The 2 hours have literally flown in. We're going to shut down the stream now. The podcast will be up momentarily, and if you want more interesting and intellectual and stimulating conversation, please stay tuned on People's Internet Radio. Vin should be up next, and that's it. I hope you all have a fantastic week. If anyone obviously has any news or anything of interest that they want to share with us, please do email info@oymradio.com, or also join us on the anti-social media Facebook. You can let us know there as well. Okay, thanks for being with us this evening. We hope you have a great week, and we do it all again next week. Until then, bye-bye.
Open your mind.